Hi there, this is Koiro with another video, and this time it's also about some C64s. You can see I've already started the work here on my bench, but I will give you the full story from the start when we head over to the bench. So this is actually recorded after I've done some of the work here, but I'm not totally finished yet. And this is another of the C64s that I did the unpacking of, and this is one in the batch of 3 C64 and another board. And this board we have not started to look into yet, but this is the board that was used as parts that was in this box. The reason I took it down was that I was planning to look at that first, but I decided to look into this C64, one of the other ones that was complete, instead, because I wanted to be able to test the SID chip that we discovered last time that it was not good. But I want to test that SID chip in another computer, and I also want to test this computer with a fully working SID chip. So that's why I have not put the other one together. It's still behind me here, and in this video we will be testing one of the others, and I will test the SID chip in both of them together, and I also will compare that. Not a very good comparison, not high fidelity by any means, but I'm going to run the diagnostic test of the SID chip with an ARM SID in this both these computers. And I also discovered something strange of this on this motherboard. So that's where we are at now, and let's head to the bench and see what we discovered and what we will discover about the SID chips and the sound test. Hi, this is the next C64 in line. I do still have some of the things lying here because I had decided to test a SID chip from another device or some unoriginal SID chip in this motherboard from last time. And I also wanted to see what was in this computer, that is the next C64 in line, and this was the one with the writing over the ports in the back here, and it's a made in England device with something that I think is a late serial number. And let's just try to fire this up. I have the setup in place from last time, so it should be quite easy. Turn it on. Oh, this might be a short video. The picture that I'm having here up in of the C64 screen, it's not giving the picture quality full, what should I say, it's better than it looks. And I also see that my camera setup here it might be a bit overexposed. I have to check how this turns out when I see it when I edit the video, but I've tried to make some changes. And I can of course test with the harness on this too, and I can also test some writings on the keyboard. It seems to have had very little use, this one. So it does seem to operate perfectly. I'm just going to check what's inside this. In these machines, this is the one with the large kind of screws, not the small ones. And it does seems to have all the... No, this one actually stands outside, but it's intact, so just leave it there. plastic and the screws. Yeah, this is the normal big size screw. Yeah, this seems to be the normal screws that is used on most bread bins, and it's not much plastic here, but you can see some plastic inside here, so they are going to break the plastic at some time. And let's see what we have inside. Oh, this is something I have seen it before, but this is not a Mitsumi keyboard, I think. It has the recessed version of the caps lock, and it has these RR logos in here, and it has a bit different connector here and some other logos. All these keyboards are of course compatible with each other. I don't know what key switches this has. Don't try to pull too hard, it's very easy to break something. But this has the same keycaps as the other one. No, it has not. Yeah, it won 1.6 and 1.9, but yeah, like so. It's not totally the same keycaps. But this was a rather nice keyboard, and it was fully working. And the most common Mitsumi keyboards, it's not. So I don't know if this is a good option or not. This machine looks... oh, there has been someone inside here. I was occupied with the keyboard. I didn't notice. Yeah, sorry, there might be some reflections in here. The light is kind of bright. They have placed heat sinks on both the SID chip and the VIC-2 chip, and this is working quite good. I think I turned it off some while ago, and it's spreading the heat quite good. Otherwise, we can see that this is made in the 44th week of 84, 49th week, 36th week, 41th, yeah, and this one 43. Yeah, and these other ones I don't bother to check. This is made some time in 84. And yeah, what more? Okay. There has been some change in memory chips on these two. These are the Micron RAM chips. And you have some 20 millisecond parts here. And you do have some other Microns with a bad print. And this actually is a 20 part, and this is a 15 part. Of another variation. We're going to take out the board, I think, to see if this done some rework, because this actually looks something that I could have done back in the day, because this is very crooked soldered in. It's at an angle up here. Yeah, and you also have some modifications done here with these diodes. I do remember that there was some modification, but I thought that was on older boards. But we are going to check that against the other one. Otherwise, there is nothing strange going on here. If we compare this with the board from last time, it's a 407 board, but this has a slightly different silkscreen artwork. And yeah, it's a revision B, both of them. 24.11.37 version. This is made some weeks before, because here you have some 23 week 19, 19, 23, 22. Yeah, so this is made some 20 weeks before the other one. And you can see here the modification that is done with the diodes here. We can look up what this modification actually does. But here you have some beads or drossels, I'm not really sure, but this is just a ferrite bead, I think. So it's probably to do some, yeah, it might be to have some protection on some ports or something, joystick port or whatever. I will check this, what they are going to. Otherwise, you have no diodes here, but here there are soldered in 4 of them. And you can see here that the 7406 is not MOS branded. Actually, this board has no MOS branded chips at all. And of course, I'm speaking about the logic chip, not the system chips. They are all MOS. Yeah. And this also has the old board that we looked at last time has the Mitsumi branded TV modulator, and this looks exactly the same, but it has a different part number and is labeled Commodore. Otherwise, the capacitors are the same. There are some difference. This is a red resistor pack, and you have a black resistor pack, and more red ones, and here you have black ones and blue ones. So it's just the same set of components, but different make. And these sockets here I made last time. This socket was actually in place, and here nothing is in socket except the VIP 2 and the SID chip that always are in a socket on these boards. Yeah, I'm just going to unscrew this board. Oh, here you have, it's a standoff that is broken. It's a sure sign that someone has been inside here at some time, at some point in time at least. It can probably break afterwards, but as we saw here, this is the case with the better plastic. It's more solid than the earlier version and the other version with just the thin tabs. This one, yeah, it has a magnet. And this one I don't need to take it out. No shielding whatsoever underneath. And you can see here that these 2 memory chips has been soldered. And you have some glare from the sharp lights. I can just do like so. You can see here that this has been reworked, but that might be a factory job, because you can see here they didn't clean off the flux from the manual soldier jobs. This was done in a tin bath at the factory when they pre-made the board, and they had these connectors, and the sockets here are manually soldered afterwards, and they never cleaned off this solder. This is also the good board with thick wires. Yeah, nothing much more to say. This standoff is broken. It's not matter much. Yeah, nothing much else to see here. You can actually see that there has been some strange things. This is not soldered. It used to be normally. And you do have some weird soldering jobs here on the short PAL NTSC connector. Yeah. So there has been done some modifications on these boards. We have these diodes. We do have the 2 memory chips that is changed at some point. Let's see if this... Yeah. We missed one diode, because there is one here on the cassette port too, so they might be to avoid killing the CIA chips, and this also probably to avoid killing the CPU when you are plugging and unplugging stuff. I've never done this kind of modifications before, so might be good to look into what's up with that. It might be the person that I bought this from that has done this modification. I can of course ask him, but let's just find out afterwards what the modifications really are about. And you can also see there is one diode here, and this is the small 4148 diodes. So you do have one here, one here, one here, one here. So I thought there was 4, but we have 6, and I can't see any here. No. And yeah, just this one and this one. Yeah, and you can also see they have used some different DIN sockets. I've seen both these before. It's not unusual that they change around on these off-the-shelf components. We did test this with the power. Let's just test it with the harness and the cartridge. I have not noticed that the camera has gone dark on me, but I will try to correct this in the picture settings to see if I can salvage this bit from the footage, because I didn't notice until I was editing. Is this difficult to get on when you have... I do think it will go in this way. It will fit, but barely. Cassette port, user port. Control port 1, control port 2, and you do have the serial. And is this the video I've been using? Yes, and this is power, and the power is off. Not the dead test, I need a diagnostic. So diagnostic, and set 1, like so. This in like so. And now the screenshot is being overexposed, so I have to make this a bit darker again. On this first pass I don't have any audio connected, so I don't know if the SID works or not after this test. You can see that it marked 6526 as bad, and I am sure that this is placed right, and I did have a light on the keyboard. I do wonder if the diodes actually can have something to do with this. I will plug this in again to make sure that I have it right, like so, and check that I have good contact on these ones. I might have not get as much contact as I would. I mean, I test again. Yeah, it does have some pipping on the, or blopping on the filters, but the noise channel was good on this SID. And we are still getting the U1, the 6526 bad. So I do wonder if it's the diodes that are doing this. it might be. So I do have to look further into that, and I also need to test the 6526 better on this computer to see if there are some strange things, and I might have to plug in a joystick or something and check what else is working, because we did see that the keyboard actually was working just fine. Yeah, and now something happened with the exposure. I do have the same overhead light as I did before, but as you can see, this is getting all dark now. I'm not sure what's going on with this camera setup. What if I change the lights? If I turn this off and change the exposure, now I have only the weak overhead lights, and now I have one overhead light, and now I have both overhead lights. It's not doing very well. And now it's none of them. This was strange. I do have to check. I turn off the auto exposure feature here, so I do have to check what's going on. But I need to get back to this. I need to try with another SID, actually in both of these, because we have the popping sound, and I also have the strange things about these diodes. I started to look into the bodge diodes that was on my C64, and I did some searches on Google and stuff, and I have been into some of these things before, and I found an explanation for some of the diodes that we have here, and they are marked here on this board. This is not my picture and is not my drawing here. This is something I found on the forum Vågons, and it does describe what's happening here. But this board here, I'm not sure what kind of board this is or what revision, because all of my boards that I haven't looked into now, at least, they do have the place for the ferrite beads, those black things with just a copper wire straight to them, and they also exist in some other means where you do have a copper wire that goes like this. But these are the straight through ones, and it's just a ferrite bead with a wire through them to eliminate noise, and those are not present on this board, and I'm not sure what board revision this is. But these diodes are normal diodes, and they are coupled like so. They do have a clamping to 5 volt in the positive way and a clamping to ground on the negative. So when this goes low, it is clamped to the diode forward voltage, and when this goes high, it's clamped to 5 volt and the forward voltage of the diode. And you have the same on this line and on this line. And if you follow this through here, it's the data and the clock from the serial port on the C64. And a bit more details about this is that this is how this looks on our board that we examined here. So you do see the diodes here. One diode is here, one here, one here, and one here. And here you can see this one is clamped to ground, this one is clamped to ground, and this one is clamped to the 5 volt rail, and this one is clamped to the 5 volt rail. And here you can see the ferrite beads, like so. And this is the same picture as last time, the one from Vågons. So you can see they have the same placement on two of the gates on the 7406 inverter, open collector inverter gate. And I have cleaned up a part of the schematics so that you can see, because in the Vågons article it was claimed that this is not present on older boards, and it is present on newer boards. And I did find some revisions The 425 board actually seems to have this in place, and the 469 board and 466 board also have this in place. And you can see them up here. They are clamping, and they are even clamping more signals here than it was on the others. Also the cassette read lines, data, clock, and the ATN signal. And you can see the rest of the circuit down here. This is the 7406 gates, 3 of those inputs. And here is the clamping to 1 for the open collector in output. And you have the diodes up here, clamped to 5 volts and clamped to ground. And on a 407 board, like we have, you do have the ferrite beads down here. You do have the pull-up resistors here for the inverter gate. And you do have the connections here. So the modification that is done is that we have placed these diodes like so to pull up these 2 lines. We have don't bothered with the ATN line, as you can see. And the diode that is used on 469 board is the 904, like so. And on our board it's the more common 1N4148 diode. And when you look at the easy sum up of parameters here, they are exactly the same for the 4148 and the 914 diode. So they are exactly the same, at least within the parameters that we are looking to here on this just summary sheet. There might be some other things with characteristics that is not mentioned here. And we could of course have cleaned up the schematics for other C64 boards. It would have been almost exactly the same. So that's the easy explanation of this. And on our board we also have 2 more lines that is clamped with diodes. I have not drawn them in here, but one of them is the control for the motor that goes to the 6510 CPU, and the other is another line that goes to the cassette drive. So the same functionality, it's clamping to withhold the signal and suppress noise, and it's also clamping to make the signal more robust. But these kind of diodes is not the ideal ones to suppress noise and transients because they are not fast enough, but they are better than nothing. And in some newer implementations of protection circuits and stuff for the 6526 CIAs or the IO port, they have these protections in between with faster diodes, clamping, noise suppression and whatnot. And back in the day I had a lot of repairs with CIAs that has gone bust with changing joystick ports on the go, and also the cassette player plugged in and out, and this earth wire that was on the cassette decks that was used on some people just also as a reset wire. They put them into the user port and connected the reset line to ground via the cassette wire that was sticking out of the plug that was meant to connect to ground. And that, of course, when you didn't know what you were doing or had an unsteady hand, you did short out something. So that's just a quick walkthrough of what we found on this. Yes, I'm going to start now, and this is with the original SID chip that was in this board. And I'm just going to run this as an test before we switch to the ARM SID. And the test I'm doing now is open air microphone. So I'm going to run this through the speakers on this TV. It's not the best solution, but it's what I'm going to get because I don't have a capture device here with some good sound. And I forgot to turn up the volume, so let's just skip to the next round. And it's still testing the 6526 as bad. I'm going to do a test with the diodes and check if any of them is making havoc on this. Yeah, that sounded quite good, so I'm actually just going to compare this now with the ARM SID, so I'm just going to pull this out and put in the ARM SID instead. I don't know if this is glued on or if it's tape or what it is. Made in Korea. And here we had the ARM SID. I have two ARM SIDs, and I've tested them several times and they are quite good. But we are going to give it a test now. There are some configurations you can do on this, but I'm just running it as an out-of-the-box SID chip. Yeah, it sounds about exactly the same as the SID that was in this originally. And instead of testing this chip in the original or the other board, I'm just going to take out this SID chip and test this in this computer to check if the sound still is like it was when we tested this last time. And power off, like so, and new test. That actually sounded not so bad. So I'm actually going to test this SID chip with some other sounds later on. I do have to see what I have. There was an SD to EIC to SD that was belonging to the same lot as this, so I might going to test that afterwards and keep this inside here and check. But the U1 is still bad, so I'm going to try to desolder some of these diodes, just lift them up on one side and test to see if they are making the diode behave badly. So I'm just heating up my Weller soldering iron and we're going to test it from there. Yes, the soldering iron should be hot by now. And I'm just going to make like so. Oh, that pad actually broke off. I don't know if you can see it, but I actually managed to lift half a trace here and test. Yeah, the control port still tested bad, so it was not these soldering. Yeah, I'm just turning this off and I'm going to solder these back on. And I will actually check on the schematics to see with the U1 if these are connected to that at all. Yeah, I've checked now and there is nothing connecting these diodes to this chip, the U1. And the U1 is mostly the keyboard, but it also is connected via the 4066 to some other trickery. And there is some connections to the joystick ports. It's port 1, I think. Double check that every connection is in place as it should. Let's run it one more time before I try to test this with some other means. And by other means, I mean, we tested the keyboard. It works just fine. And we have to test the joysticks. It might be those that is marking these bad. And with the joystick, it can be the control port. And then it's the 4066 as one of the joysticks. Control port. Let's plug in the keyboard again and check. Keyboard was reported as open, of course. It's just like so. I can, of course, just boot it into BASIC and test the joystick ports. We have some lights on this. This is yellow light on the keyboard diag, and this sense and the motor on the cassette is showing the signals on the output here. Okay, now they just mark both the keyboard and the control port when I have this plugged in. So that might call for a bad CIA, but before that I'm going to check everything else. So we do have to do some more checking to see what's actually not working here. And then I have to connect out these diagnostics and connect something else. I do have this that also was included, so I can turn off this for the moment. I do have this one that also was included in the package, and this is the one that puts power from the user port. And is it keyed? Oh, you do have one connector in here that is missing. But this is not keyed, so... Oh, but it's marked top. That's good. Plug this in like so. And this into the IC connector. Like so. And I also got an Epix fast load reloaded, and that should be compatible with this IEC device. I've never actually tested that. The ordinary Epix fast load is not compatible with this. And there also was an SD card included, and this is the SD card from the future about 8-bit, and they is also the ones that has provided this one. Turn on the capture and you can see the fast load, and now I have to of course connect the keyboard, otherwise there is not much point in this. And this is my good keyboard, the one that we tested before, and like so. And fast load, it should be the, it was the dollar sign, if I don't remember wrong. Yes. Oh, there was a lot of things here. I think this is the demo, but they do have Tetris here. I don't remember. Pet Rescue. I'm out on a limb here because I really can't remember, but it is one of the, was it this one? Yeah, this was loading. Yeah, that didn't go too great. I might have to find some other means, so I have to copy some other stuff into here. I'm banging my head here against something I don't know anything about. So I'm just going to load up some DC64 files onto this SD card and be right back. I do have to try something. If it's the control port, or aka the joystick port that is bad, we do have to address this problem, and the easiest ways to do that is actually to make a small program to just read out the values. And this is from memory, so please beware, be patient with me. 56321 should be control port 1, I think. And sorry, I have to think what I'm doing here. It actually this is what I need to do. Print peak 56321, and I need to print peak 56320 like so, and yeah, just 20 go to 10 like so. Then it will print the values in 2 rows and print them continuously. Oh, and one is 127 and the other is 255. Strange. This is one of my joysticks. I do have a lot of joysticks collected over the years. This is Manny's favorite, the Zip Stick. I actually prefer the Competition Pro, but I know that Manny prefers this one. And let's see what's happening when I try to... Yeah, sorry for this. Nothing. Okay, there something's happening. 126. So it's changing the least significant bit. And 119. See that it's changing with 2. 125. It's changing with 4. And to the left, nothing. And fire button, it's with 16. And that was with control port 2. I will check with control port 1. Control port 1 should be connected together with the keyboard. You can see it's printing slower, but here it's actually working to the left. So the joystick itself is working. And 254, 247, 253, and 251, and 239. So there actually is a bit that is not working on this control port. Yeah, but then we know we have something bad going on, and what we have connected here now is control port 2. So we need to look into the schematics, and what's not working is moving left. So we have to go and look in the schematics. Yeah, to look into the schematics on this, we do have to look up the proper schematics, and I'm using the simmers.net. They have a very good collection of this. This is the 469 board, and we need a variation of the 407 board. This is 407, and it's the left schematics. I do believe it's this one. Yes. This is U1, and this is the keyboard, and this is the console port. Yes. So we do have here actually I do have to look at, no, we did establish that it was the A2 bit, because it was adding by 4, and that means that you are on pin 3 here. Let's just check that. I did look up the programmer's reference guide, and yeah, so this is 1, 0, 2 and bit 3. So 0, 1, 2 and 3 bit. So if we check that on a pinout here, you do say left is pin 3. Yes, okay. So then it's pin 3 from this Joy A2. It's going straight down here, row 2. No, I'm not getting this right. This is Joy 2. I have to follow the right, and this, yeah, parallel A2, pin 4, and this is the keyboard connector, and you can see the key down here. So this is the 3rd pin from that row, should be connected to pin 4 here, and pin 3 on the joystick. And they are connected to nothing else. So there is no, oh wait a moment. No, they are connected to nothing else. So these 46 pieces are only for the paddles for the analog. And that means that it's very clear, if all these connections, if pin 4, pin 18 and pin 3 on this one is connected, then the fault clearly lies within this one. And there is no other connections at all to these lines. And we have used the right addresses, yes, 56320 and 56321. And left is this one. Yeah, no, but we have checked everything we need. So we just have to measure this out. Yeah, let's see how we are going to measure this. We do have to disconnect the keyboard connector. And the joystick ports, pin 3, we may be able to reach this from here. We can, maybe if I put this multimeter into, yeah, now the screen is gone dark again, even though I have the same light as before. So there is something with this camera that is compensating for light. I don't know what I should do with that. If I try to just turn on this light, it also compensates for this light, so it doesn't matter much. But I have to look into that some other time. No, it was pin 3. Like so. And didn't we find out that the joystick was connected to ground? Yeah, like so. So the connection here is working, and we did find out that it was this pin that has to be connected to this pin, and it is. And it also needed to be connected to pin 4, and that is also right. So if I connect this pin 4 to this, it should be so. And if I just measure here, this was... Maybe I can be able to keep... Yes, and if I try to turn this on, I can turn it off again, and I can use the logic probe to check what's going on. I do think this is the 5-volt rail. I'll try. Yes, and I measure on pin 4. It's pulsing because it's doing keyboard decoding, and it's going low. Yeah, I do think we have a faulty CIA chip on this computer. But this video, I'm not going to change this chip. I actually have some unoriginal CIA chips coming up, so I'm going to change this in a couple of days. And this is typically Commodore. If you look at this, it's already 2 different chips here, and we didn't find any proof that they was bad, did we? That it has been changed before, I mean. But they are about the same production date, but the stampings on them are a bit different. Or it's exactly the same production week at least. But you can see it's a bit different. It has another plastic case here. Maybe they just have different machines, because this is pickups, I think, where they filled in the hole for the epoxy machine that was making the plastic housing for these chips. We are going to start next time with checking this CIA chip. Yeah, just to check up things. Now I have the SID chip that I thought was not working good enough, just as a stop here. And it takes a while to get into these things. This command, it is, and it's... I think this is the loader. Yes. And now it's loading the contents that I do have on my SD card. I did copy over some stuff. And they're probably here at the bottom. Yeah, I did... Oi. Sorry, it was Commando, but that's not a bad choice. And it's loading. And it's either not working or it's decrunching. Okay. Yeah, it's working. One player game, F1. not something I'm very good with. I'm going to load something that I actually know how sounds. Like so. And I was meaning to run the gauntlet sound because that's what I used last time when I was testing C64, and I do think I also have the, where do I have that? The Arkanoid. Arkanoid is also a good game to be using to test the sound, because it uses the filter and the noise channels and also the volume to make the samples. Some good decrunching going on. Okay, this is an intro screen. It's also a good test of the music, of course. It sounds quite good. Cyber and Systems, analog disk menu. I'm not actually sure what's going on here. Run, stop, start game. That sounds like a good thing. Enable or disable. I think I have to disable the fast closer. And we can use the trainer. Unlimited lives. Yes. 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 I have no idea what I'm doing. No. This is not okay. There is happening. Another. I must be wondering, loading the wrong game. Is this Delta? Yeah, this is not what I intended to do. Sorry. That's how things goes when you are not preparing in front and just doing live takes. I'm going to just load up something that I'm very familiar with, or at least familiar enough with. The gauntlet I've been using before has been on some of my other loading schemes, but I do think it's just loading. Oh, this also has a crack screen but no music. think we can conclude that this SID chip works just good enough. So the SID chip that was in my broken C64, it actually was working as it should. And the joystick, of course, does not work. That we have established before, so I don't know how things are going in here, but on this joystick port, things are working. Yeah, and you're not able to choose anything with this one. And now I'm of course changing joysticks on the go. That's not the best thing to do. It just starts again. And this joystick port works just fine. But that's it. I'm going to desolder this CIA chip and put in a socket. And I got C64 aftermarket part that's made as an emulation device. And I'm going to try that one. I do have it in the mail. It's actually already in the post office, but I have not been able to go and get it yet. So I will do that in the beginning of my next C64 thing. Yes, for those of you who have watched through to the end, really appreciate it. I don't think it's many of you, but some of you did, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't have heard this. The last bit, it's pretty obvious for most of you that I don't do much entertainment on the C64 or 8-bit computers at all. I never did back in the day either. I did do an occasional game together with friends. I did play some leaderboard, I did play some Tetris, David Midnight Magic, and some other games that I do know. Gauntlet was another favorite back in the day, but I don't get very much. It's not what's intrigued me. It's more the technical side of things, of making things work, that intrigues me. And I do have played an occasional game of leaderboard and other stuff the last years, but I'm not much into these modern doohickeys as the ST2 EIC device. I do know how it works, or it comes back to me when I start using it, but I'm not very familiar with it, and I don't have any familiar stuff. We are going to go into some of my old floppy disks and stuff when I come to the 1541 drives in this series, but this will never be about playing games or doing stuff. I can look into some programming and stuff, that's no problem, but otherwise this is not a channel for game walkthroughs, obviously. But if you do wonder something about the electronics or the internals, I'm ahead of that, it's no problem. But thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the content. Please leave a comment if you want. Please subscribe, please press like. I really could appreciate the views. So, thank you, until next time, see you then.